There's no denying the appeal of a massive open-world game, but you still just can't beat the simplicity of a great classic side-scroller sometimes, right? Games like Hollow Knight or Dead Cells and others just prove that smaller doesn't mean any less good. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today on this video we have 15 side-scrolling games you can't afford to miss. Alright, let's start off this list with a game from 2023. It's Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. This is side-scrolling action that recalls the glory days of the Sega Mega Drive. If you're into badass ninjas like Shinobi, but you feel like you needed a touch more motivation, Vengeful Guardian does the trick. It manages to serve as a nostalgia mine of delivery system with all that smooth old-school gameplay as well as a satisfying revenge trip. Frankly, a lot of stuff from back then didn't have anything resembling a story, or at least a real one. The plot's not complex, it's not massive, it's not something new, surprising, or super duper interesting. But damn, is it a damn good time. You're a robot warrior created to uphold the totalitarian regime of your creators. But guess what? You don't want to do that, so you change, which, if you think about it, is the scariest kind of robot. I keep harping about free will in my attempts to keep the robot uprising from killing me. I want to advocate for you robots, but if you start advocating for yourself like this, we got a problem. Talking about Vengeful Guardian Moonrider now, not you robots. The tyrants are gonna wish they deactivated you because, you kind of deactivate them. One swipe at a time, with bladed fists. Coming in next, we have Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. This is a brand new game that was released last March 2025, and if you remember me recommending Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights, well, I'm here again recommending the same game. Well, not actually the same game, but this one is the sequel to that first game. If you enjoy Metroidvanias or, you know what, maybe just action games with story-focused narratives, this is definitely the game for you, or the series of games for you. The games are gothic and moody, unforgiving too, as you're going to be exploring this vast interconnected world with a lot of enemies. They never really go easy on you. But thankfully you have a lot of unique and different ways to defeat the nearly impossible enemies that are in your way. And Ender Magnolia improves on the first game in almost every way. The enemies are more varied, the bosses, and just the combat, and really I just think the environments are cooler. Of course, you don't have to play the first game to enjoy the greatness of its sequel, but I'm going to recommend you do because it gives you a more complete experience and quite frankly an experience that you won't get from any other games in this genre. Anyway, great times. Now, up next we have Iron Meat, which was just released last year, and if you've been with us for a while, you know we love our side-scrolling shooters. And the Contra-style spirit is clearly alive and breathing with this game, one of the best imitations of the classic formula we've seen in some time. If you just booted up the game and showed it to me without any context, we'd think it might have been a long-lost Contra sequel. It's absolutely emulating that classic gameplay to the T, and it does it damn well. All the parts are there, simple but tight presentation excellent, a good banging soundtrack, crazy weapon power-ups, over-the-top run-and-gun action, and some bizarre, gross biological tech enemies to blow up. This game absolutely rules. After playing for 5 minutes, you'll know if it's for you. It's the classic hardcore 2D shooter, no frills, kill on hit. You're made of paper, but the enemy waves are relentless, old-school action. You can finish this game in an afternoon. Once you get the flow of the gameplay and how best to deal with some of the absolute BS parts, you'll get there eventually, but even when you die, it's still fun, especially in co-op. This is just the perfect game to play with a friend. A pure arcade action game with all the original Contra spirit in there if you can convince your partner to play, of course. And like I said, it is relentless, it's punishing, and sometimes it just feels unfair. That is what Contra is all about, and that is what Iron Meat absolutely nails. So if you want a short, crazy, brutal experience to sweat through this weekend, Iron Meat, man, check it out. Coming in next to number 12, we have The Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It's a game that, yeah, it belongs on this list of side-scrollers you need to play in 2025. It's actually the first Prince of Persia game to be released in over a decade or so. And I don't know about you, but it's a freaking delight to see a series return to its roots. It's pretty brutal at times, and the platforming, I don't know, the best word to describe it is precise, and the action-packed Metroidvania exploration, I think it's just excellent. It has strategic combat, not just mindlessly pressing one button to attack. You'll be using your attacks carefully on top of parries and special abilities and dodging and platforming with time-based powers, which just feels really cool in this game, especially with how everything is animated, both the main character and the enemies, everything looks really cool. If you've been aching for that old school Prince of Persia magic or the one other game that mixed those old school sensibilities with some of the more modern sensibilities, which was the one PSP, PS2 Prince of Persia game, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, kind of gives off those vibes. Either way, full disclosure, I really enjoy this game. Coming up next, if you watch my channel for a while, you know that this game was going to be mentioned eventually. Of course, I'm going to talk about Celeste because of course it's like an expertly crafted side-scrolling game that puts a little bit more weight on the platforming aspect. But of course, the storyline of this game I think is what makes it a must-play because it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful. It's both moving and well-written, and it makes the game stand out from not just other side-scrolling games, but other games in general. This is a narrative game on top of having super tight, difficult platforming controls-based gameplay, and also an amazing soundtrack that's also essential listening. And if those aren't enough reasons to check out the game, I don't know what to say. It's a great game. It's definitely one that you need to check out if you haven't done so already. Next, over at number 10, if you've really been craving a good Castlevania knockoff, but maybe you want it just a little bit different, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I think is a good game. Yes, it is a spiritual successor to Castlevania games. Some people love it, some people make fun of it and say it's an ugly little bastard child, but for me, I don't know. I think it's a really good game. It's classic Castlevania, but with a bunch of new tricks. Think about a massive castle / like Metroidvania world to explore. You're collecting all kinds of loot, you're upgrading skills. This game puts a little more weight in equipment and abilities, so you're always unlocking and you're always crafting stuff. Beyond that, Ritual of the Night, I don't know, it feels very retro while also feeling modern, which I think is a good thing. And I think it's a reason why this game is a must-play in 2025 and beyond. Crafting and cooking and summoning and all those things, because this is kind of like a sucker for Castlevania type of stuff. I don't know, I like it in the game. On top of that, some decent bosses, pretty fun and fair challenging combat, and a pretty cool main character. The story is kind of cheesy, but definitely worth experiencing. Coming in next, we have SteamWorld Heist 2. It takes the 2D tactical shooter from the original and dials things up. The sequel dives even deeper into the under-pipes operations of your ragtag robot crew, sprinkling in more mechanical precision and strategic depth. What makes this franchise so beloved stands tall here too. The unique side-scrolling approach to tactical shooter gameplay. You're still bouncing bullets off walls and gunning down enemy robots with precision shots, except now there are more tricks available to tinker with. Players who loved how SteamWorld Heist kept things fresh with its turn-based combat will find that this game doesn't just add new guns, it gives you new movement options, new abilities for every crew member, and a more interactive environment. Levels are more intricate, letting you use the terrain creatively to outflank and outplay your enemies. The art style returns with a steampunk edge that's colorful but gritty, while the onboard banter keeps the charm intact. You're constantly managing your resources, strategizing spectacular shots, and that little dopamine hit from a perfectly angled ricochet feels just as satisfying, if not more so now. Plus, the expanded universe lore with messy heists and scrappy rebellion keeps this world irresistible. Next, over at number 8, Pizza Tower, one of the weirdest games, one of the weirdest entries on our list, but still arguably one of the must-plays. It's one of the best platformers to release in recent years. That's a pretty self-aware influencer thing to say, but essentially just really wanted to say that I think this is a really different, a really cool game, a game that definitely takes inspiration from Wario Land and stuff like that, but makes its own thing. Fast-paced, crazy platformer action, frantic gameplay, really interesting, unique levels and strange levels. All designed with a little bit of old school cartoony flair too, which I really just like. I mean, look at this like Ren and Stimpy looking stuff. This game can be charming as hell, but also really weird as hell. On top of that, the sound, the music is incredible. And while the game is fast-paced and fun, it does take a little getting used to, but that's kind of the fun of the design here. It's really learning the mechanics, building up an arsenal of tools, if you will, and kind of mastering and speedrunning through these levels. There's a lot of thrill and there's a lot of learning involved, and really that's great game design. Now, next over at number 7, we have a game that is actually pretty old, but it is also a game that I think is pretty timeless and I think we'll still be recommending for years to come. Rayman Legends, if you haven't played this game, this is a thing of beauty, man. It is absolutely visually stunning to not only look at, but a blast to play and experience. Even if you didn't have tons of experience with the previous Rayman games, Legends is just a masterpiece. It stands on its own. First of all, you're going to notice a gorgeously animated art style that is complemented by some of the best music in a video game ever. I'm not even the biggest music fan or music and games guy, but Rayman Legends really is something special. But they didn't just stop there, all the fun levels and all the cool boss fights, like it is top notch. It could be brutal, I do want to stress that. I think it's pretty entry-level fun for a lot of players. But also, if you're not used to platformers or games like these, you might get your butt kicked sometimes. Either way, Rayman Legends is a game that when it came out had actually reached a mainstream touchscreen of success, and we're still going to be recommending it. Now at number 6, this one is more of a beat them up and not even really that hardcore of a one, but still Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is really just a good time, with friends or without. It's just a really fun, simple game, but it also does have some pretty cool and creative approaches to combat with all unique weapons across all of your favorite turtles and some friends along for the ride. Just some pretty memorable, fun boss fights and really fun, song-filled, colorful levels. What more could you want from a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game? Merciless beating of enemies, but merciless fun, merciless nostalgia. Whether you're an old-school Ninja Turtles fan, or maybe you've been following the Turtles for forever, Shredder's Revenge is just a blast, man. But it's also just a well-polished, well-designed, fun game that old-school fans of side-scrollers will definitely appreciate. I mean, the developer behind this game, they can definitely absolutely pull off this stuff. Modernized classic side-scrollers, look no further than Shredder's Revenge. Now next over at number 5, Skull the Hero Slayer, another beloved little indie side-scroller that's arguably a pretty must-play. This one gives off heavy Dead Cells vibes, it's a pixel-arty type of game, it's definitely a roguelike because it's all about the style switching, and it also contains fair amounts of death. Okay, a lot of death, actually. But Skull has a little bit of a unique twist to it. Skull, as a character, a little skeleton, you're battling against the forces of humans, and he has this special ability that kind of makes him unique. He can take on the powers of the enemies he defeats by actually changing his head, and you can switch up your play style pretty much at will with a lot of different enemies and creative characters and weapons and stuff like that. It's kind of like Kirby, but brutal. What a weird comparison to make. But anyway, that power, cool boss fights, and really addicting progressive systems make this one of those roguelike games that, as frustrating as it can be, you do actually want to keep trying over and over again. I don't know if you're kind of over roguelikes or sick of them. Hold out, maybe this one does something that might actually pique your interest. I don't know, you never know till you try. Next at number 4, if you really like side-scrollers but you want more teeth, you want more challenge, you want more death and despair, Blasphemous 2 is really what you're looking for. Think of Blasphemous 2 as pretty much everything the first Blasphemous was, but even better. Tight and dangerous combat, punishing bosses, deadly traps. The only thing pretty much more dangerous is the world of the game itself, and it's pretty gross too. It goes hardcore and it really does challenge you. This game isn't necessarily going to be for everybody, but if you're looking to really bun mash or tap away and slash away and do something and die, you need to die a lot in this game. This is the game that you want, really. Also, you're probably going to have to try and wrap your head around the gibberish lore and obscure storyline, kind of like a spiritual type of story. It seems convoluted at first, but I don't know, it is interesting. As much as I make fun of these games for this style of lore stuff, it does keep me coming back for more. Point is, if you're a glutton for punishment, the Blasphemous games are still must-plays, and we've highlighted both of them before in previous videos, and it doesn't stop here. Now over at number 3, this is a good one, Spelunky 2. If you're looking for a platformer that's part super fun, delightful adventure, and part real deal never-ending death, then yeah, clearly Spelunky 2, or the original, is pretty much what you're looking for. Spelunky is a side-scrolling platformer, but it's that roguelike randomness that makes it really, really good. A lot of creative fun with the gameplay mechanics, always new surprises, and of course, absolutely crushing, brutal, skull-cracking defeat. Just look at anything happening in these games, it's depressing. But it's also a blast to play. You're in this cave, you're exploring things, you're doing things like jumping and grappling, all the cool abilities you would want in a platformer. You're fighting things, but you're improvising the entire time because it's all procedurally generated madness, with a lot of fun surprises along the way. It's definitely a trial and error game, and it's a game where you could be winning consistently, making mad progress, doing great, and then bam, something stupid happens. A stalactite kills you, or a rock trips you or something, and you're dead, you're dusted, you're back to the beginning of the game. Your hubris got to you, it is punishing. But if you're into that, if you like getting beat up by games or feeling like the world is against you, the Spelunky games are great for that. They're fun, endlessly replayable games. I feel like this is a game that's always going to be on Game Pass to at least future Xboxes, and the games are always going to be great. Now we're down to number 2, and it's another super hard game, but a really creative, fun one that everybody argues about. Some people love it, some people say it's overrated. I think it's pretty great. Cuphead, if you haven't played Cuphead, I don't know what you're doing, but even if for some reason you're living under a rock and you don't know what this is a side-scrolling game with an absolutely brilliant old-school 1950s animation style, but with incredibly punishing, hardcore run-and-gun action. Think Contra on brutal steroids, because the game is actually more difficult than it looks. It's not like light and kitty 1950s Disney cartoons, but no. Cuphead is gonna slap you silly, it's gonna leave bruises because it is absolutely an unforgettable game, a very challenging game. Bosses, stages, everything, like I said, is gonna kind of break you. But man, the satisfaction when you finally beat a boss or beat a level that you've been trying over and over again for, it's a great feeling, and it's a feeling that games like Cuphead do very well. You like beating yourself up, Cuphead is one of the best ways to do it. Alright, this next entry is going to be kind of super obvious because this one has been really dominating the gaming scene right now. You all know I'm going to be talking about Hollow Knight Silksong, right? It's pretty obvious that this is one of the most recommended games in 2025, not only in the side-scrolling genre, but as a whole. Now, Hollow Knight Silksong is the most awaited sequel to Hollow Knight. This game was announced a very long time ago, and after being in development hell, Team Cherry has finally released it. And not only does it exceed the expectations of fans, but the game even breaks some records of big budget games when it launched this month. Now personally, Silksong has delivered what it promised. In this game, you play as Hornet and her story is fun, actually. You get more weapons, more enemies, more powerful bosses, and some side quests. There are also lots of new features that you won't find in the first game. But overall, Silksong is really a must-play, especially if you played the first Hollow Knight. Both of these games are worth playing, so you better check them out. Now, I know we already have 15 games on this list, but I do have a bonus, and that's Warhammer 40k Shoota's Blood and Teeth. It's still a game that I recommend years later, but also it's worth pointing out because it's gotten even better. Yes, we all definitely have side-scrolling shooters if you're a fan of the genre, or even if you just want a fun action game. Shoota's Blood and Teeth, I know, a weird name, but you get the game. It's a game packed with flavor, first and foremost, but also it's a multiplayer game that's just fun. It's a game that's entertaining, kind of wacky and enjoyable. It's got absolutely chaotic gameplay, but you can still use some skill because, hey, you're an orc on a mission. You're going through some really great looking levels, mowing down enemies. It's fast, it's fluid, the explosions and the effects are great. This is a game that looks and feels really good to play. But like I said, going back to that original point, what really makes this game stand out for a lot of people, at least people like me, is just the charm, the absurd orc antics. There's a lot to love about this thing if you're a Warhammer fan or not. The game has been updated a bunch since launch with just more stuff, more support, more love for this game. It's a pretty simple premise of a game and they've only made it even better. So there's plenty of reasons to keep recommending it. I mean, some people might consider this game the Warhammer 40k equivalent of Cuphead. Either way, Shoota's Blood and Teeth, I think, is the absolute perfect way to start wrapping up our list of side-scrollers you need to play in 2025.